I was working at a state agency called the Meadowlands Commission a few years ago. They have a triple responsibility to do economic development, environmental preservation, and the closure of the landfills, which New Jersey, especially my part of New Jersey, was very famous for. When I was a kid, you could still see the garbage falling over from the hill and into the waterways.
In 2007, when I was still working in DC, I went to a conference by the National Council of Science and the Environment on climate change issues. And I was probably the youngest person there. There was about 2,000 people there, a lot of scientists and a lot of economists, but not very many policy people. And I think I decided at that point that I wanted to be somebody who could talk in the middle to scientists and also to policymakers to make the critical energy changes that we're going to need.
I was working and living in DC, and I was a big advocate for animals, so I participated in peaceful legal protests. We'd always get a lot of pushback from some of the police officers, even though we were there legally. Finally, we got smart, and we consulted a lawyer who gave us a letter. And so the next Saturday we were there, we said, well, actually, we have a letter from a lawyer. And even before we were able to get that out, he saw the letter from the lawyer and immediately packed up his bags and left in his cruiser. So I thought, well, maybe I can be a little bit more effective for animals if I could get a legal degree and be a lawyer.
I grew up on a small family farm in a very rural area, and I learned early on the importance of pure water. When I was in undergrad in Los Angeles, I was a surfer. I really enjoyed being out playing in the water, but the larger picture was in Los Angeles, you have absolute pollution in the water, and that got me to the point of realizing the connection of the science behind water conservation and what it really meant to be somebody that was involved in the dialogue of how do we fix a pollution problem. It requires you to understand the mechanisms that regulate pollution. It was in that point that I realized I wanted to go to law school.
I saw a correlation in the Vermont Law School course book that I didn't see in other schools with the work I was doing. I saw the names of things that I was writing in press releases and reports that I was just glossing over as topics that were going to be entire semesters of my education, and I was interested in that. And I was also interested because I saw some of the classes that were specially offered in the summer, specifically, and the type of professors that come to VLS.
I love getting to work with people that have been in the Institute for a number of years that really get it. They understand energy, they understand how it fits into a global mission that involves having energy security for all people, but also doing so in a conscious way for the environment. And I love being able to just randomly run into those people in the hallway and ask them a question.
The MELP allows you to be very strong on the legal aspect, while also giving you a lot of other credits to really pursue, be it a clinical programs. I was able to do the dispute resolution clinic, the legislative clinic, the independent research in the animal law areas, as well as attending moot court competitions. I mean, I really appreciate Vermont Law for being flexible and allowing us to create our own curriculum that's going to enable us to do what we want to do post-graduation. Summer in Vermont is just a wonderful learning experience. You can go to class for a couple hours and you get out to something beautiful.
Vermont Law had a joint degree program, and not only was it the top ranked, but it seemed absolutely natural to want to get the best of both worlds. It was a common sense, check the box, heck yeah, I'm in. As an incoming student, on one of our first orientation days, had one of the professors, Pat Parento, come and speak to us, and it was a brimstone and fire speech about, you want to change the world? Well, guess what? You're going to have to work hard, but it's in the end totally worth it. So having Pat as a resource at Vermont Law is a gold mine for any joint degree student.
I wanted to be able to come here so that I could have that legitimate authority and legitimate power that comes from knowledge that you can only get by putting the time in and doing the studying and doing the work.
In my dream job, I would get to work in the Senate of the United States, and I would get to work on energy issues for which I can, in my service and through my service, really make a difference because I have good information at the right time in the right place. And so I hope that my Vermont Law, and actually I know that my Vermont Law education will prepare me for that. I gotta get votes.
I would love to get a few more protections on the books for animals. I would love to get the environmental movement to really come out and recognize the fact that animal agriculture is very detrimental, and when they include things like recycling and CFL light bulbs, to really think about meatless Mondays, and other things that affect animals and the way that that's impacting the environment.
Boy, I knew I wanted to go to law school very early on, and I think it was an epiphany. It made complete sense to me, hand in glove, the idea of getting the tools to become the best advocate I can to protect that which I hold most dear.